Okay, so what you will have a lot of times is like this part, we've made it. We left all those outside corners sharp, and then I went back to my print, and this particular print doesn't actually say it on it, but let's say your print says break all corners. Any sharp corners need to have a 50 thou radius on them. So instead of having to go through and re-toolpath everything, we can actually just adjust some of the toolpath parameters to make it automatically do this for us. That's what we're going to do now, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my lathe finish toolpath here. Okay. And I'm going to go into the parameters. Okay, actually I'll tell you what I want to do first. I want to move this toolpath. I want the groove to get done before the finish path. That way it can put a groove, or it'll break this corner right here for us. So I'm going to move my arrow up here, and I'm going to move that before. So there, you saw what I did there. I held down my right mouse button, I drug that up, and I moved it before. I could have also did the Control X to cut it, moved my arrow and pasted it, but that's what we did there. Let's go ahead and regenerate this real quick. That way they're all regenerated. And now we're going to go into our lathe finish path. I'm going to go into my plunge parameters, and I'm going to allow plunging in both directions. Okay, we're going to do that. Alright, and then once we have done that, we're going to come down and we're going to turn on corner break. Okay, and basically what we're going to do is in the corner break we're going to tell it to put a radius of 50 thou on all sharp corners. Okay, little check mark out. And now you see there, it radius through there, radiused up here. Okay, we've radiused all the corners. Now, let's say we want it to do this front edge. Okay, we want it to do the front edge here. I don't want this. I want there to be a radius right here. I can do that easy. I can do that in my lead in, lead out. Okay, and when I come into the lead out, I'm going to turn on add line right here. Okay, and I'm going to tell it a length of 0.1 and the angle. Okay, that's what I know from basically from the start point. Where do I want this? This on my lead in. So I'm going to tell it to add like 100 thousandths. Oops, in at 270 degrees. Sorry, I could have also came out here and picked this line here. Okay. So negative 90 is the same as 270 degrees. So it pulled in negative 90, but the same thing. We check mark now. We regenerate that. There, it added this on down here, and now you see its radius that corner. Okay, so that's one way to break all those sharp edges on that part. If we watch this now before we go and part it off. See, it just basically rounded all those, what would have been sharp corners, are now radiused. Okay, so the last thing we've got to do is we got to part this off. So let's move our place arrow to the bottom. Let's go up here and select cut off. Our boundary point is going to be the top back edge of the part right here. We'll try it with this grooving tool. I don't know if it's going to have enough reach or not. We'll find out here in just a second. Let's go ahead and, we would drop our max spindle speed way down. Turn on our coolant. I'm going to say part off workpiece. Okay. We'll go to our cut parameters, and I'm going to turn on from stock on these. That's typically what I would do. And then I'm going to tell it on the X tangent point. Okay, this basically, I can tell it where I want it to stop at. I'm going to actually put a positive here. And what's that's going to do? A positive 50 thousandths tangent point, that's basically going to leave like a 100 thou island in the middle, but it'll keep it from like breaking off to where the part disappears in the verify when we go to watch it here in a second. If I wanted to part all the way off and let it fall into a tub or a parts catcher or whatever, obviously I'd want to put in like a negative past the center line number here, but I want it to stay connected, so I'm going to put a positive 50 thou. And then I'm going to come into my corner geometry here. I'm going to turn on chamfer, and in the chamfer parameters I'm going to tell it that I want a chamfer of 50 thou, 45 degree angle. Should be good. Okay, then we'll come down here just to look at this, and we'll talk about this just a little bit. So what this will do is I can tell it, hey, once you get down to a 1/4 inch, basically a 1/4 inch radius, I want you to slow down the spindle speed to 100 RPM. This basically is a way to keep it from throwing the part when you go to part off a part. So for instance, I was working on a project here recently using the parts catcher on the lathe, and what I would have it do is when it'd get within like 50 thou of the actual part off, I'd have it slow all the way down to like 100 RPM, and that way it dropped the part in the parts catcher, not throw it because it parted off at an inopportune time in the lathe. So that's how what this can be used for. All right, and let's go ahead and turn on pecking. Since we are going pretty deep here, I'm gonna tell it that every 100 thou, I want it to dwell for a revolution, kind of like a chip break. Okay, so for every 100 thou, I want it to dwell for 1 revolution. And we'll check this out. All right, so I was talking about earlier that I wasn't sure if the tool was going to have enough clearance. Obviously, the way this parting tool is built, it's going to crash into the back of the part here. So I'm just going to go into this tool's parameters. Okay, and I'm going to adjust. See here, I'm going to tell it it's like 2 inches. I'm lying to it. I'm telling it that it's got a longer neck on it than what it does. And that way, well, we're still hitting a little bit there, huh? Just barely at the end. Got us just a little bit. So, we'd have to fix that if necessary. And that could be something as simple as needing a little clearance cut here. So we might need just a little bitty clearance cut to prevent there we go. The clearance cut fixed that one for us. Just come in and did a little clearance, parted it off. So there's the part. If there's any questions, feel free to email me, but that should complete this exercise. Have a great day.